Let's go ahead and start playing Sci-Fighters. So if you're new to the show, this is a game that we play where we take characters from all different kinds of properties and we put them against one another in a gladiator, a fantasy football style bracket. And we actually got introduced to this game by Joe because he plays this a lot at different conventions and things. And so tonight our game is Cowards and Weaklings. and and I thought it would be fun that instead of John just coming up with all the combatants, we would all come up with a few, give them to him so he can make sure that we didn't all just have the same list and not have any overlap. And with that,
should we give a shout out to our missing companion who put in her list and then couldn't be here tonight?
Yeah,
Oh no,
yeah, I was going to do that, but yes, feel free.
But you have her list?
I do.
Okay. So he has her list even though he's not here. So I'll take it away, John.
All right. So I received a motley crew from Rick, Joe, Sean, and Virginia, who Rick mentioned couldn't make it tonight. And those lists range from 6 to 8 to 10 people, and that's too many. So, so I narrowed everyone down to 4. I picked 4 people from everyone's list, and matched them up in a way that I think should work out. We'll do standard. Do you want to assign to people or just open it up to the group, Sean?
I would just say open it up to the group.
Yeah.
All right.
Because that's what we end up doing anyway.
Fair. All right. So from Team Rick, Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, the original 60s Lost in Space. And from Team Virginia, C-3PO.
I don't think 3PO has a chance.
Against Dr. Smith? I don't know.
I think if 3PO were to get physical, he would win, but it would never even dawn on 3PO to do it. But I think just the alliterative insults that Smith would throw at the protocol droid would make the battle worth watching right there. Because I don't know if y'all know this. I've been just spending a lot of time just cruising through the backwaters of YouTube, and a couple weeks ago, before all the moving chaos began, I watched a bunch of interviews with both Jonathan Harris and Bill Mumy, and apparently all of the insults, all of the insults that Dr. Smith threw at the robot, he wrote them himself.
So good.
Yeah. So I think just for that alone, neither of them would not come to blows, because neither of the 3PO can't, and Dr. Smith would.
His arms are attached to his sides. He can't. He can't do anything.
I mean, Dr. Smith would insult 3PO to death.
I think well, I never. I never. He would just put him into a logic loop.
Yeah, his head something would pop out of the top of his head. And even the Parker Posey version of Dr. Smith could probably take.
Yeah. Well, she just hack him.
Yeah.
I had to specify original because I never got past episode 4 of the new Lost in Space. It just bored the hell out of me.
You missed out.
Did it finally get better?
Yeah, it was great. I liked it. I don't know if there's going to be a season 2 or not, but
it just took so long for setting up. I finally got tired of waiting.
Yeah. Like one of the daughters was stuck in ice for I think 7 episodes. That's what it felt like. It
was not that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
But first round goes to Dr. Smith. Let's do from team, I think this is also Team Rick, Quark, was it you?
Mm-hmm.
And from Team Joe, I think. Yeah, Aunt May. Um,
Are we
not
talking comic
not
book Aunt May or Marissa Tomei Aunt May?
not hot Aunt May.
Oh,
We're
okay.
talking
And if you're talking about Aunt May from
yeah.
Spider-Verse, then she was not a coward.
See, this is what I'm thinking. I think
If you're talking about old lady Aunt May from the Raimi films, and yeah.
old lady Aunt
I think the general consensus of Aunt May and 80% of her career is she's a doddering old woman.
Mhm.
Yes. This is
So-
elderly senior citizen Aunt May.
Yeah. The Marissa Tomei version and the Spider-Verse version are outliers. And
Yes.
they're used to skew the graph a little bit.
See, if it was Marissa Tomei, she'd umok the hell out of Quark
Well,
and he'd
see,
be done.
Here's the thing. I think elderly Aunt May will do it by accident. She will be trying to grab his ear to like, oh, you like old ladies do to drag him off and give him a stern talking to. But unfortunately, it would debilitate him, but in an unintended manner.
That's a
And
very disturbing path to think about.
She won't know what's going on.
I feel like Quark. Of course, I want to say the beloved underdog is going to be Aunt May, but Quark is he's a wheeler dealer in spite of himself. I think he would accidentally end up with the Parker's house.
Yeah.
He would try to con Aunt May and end up with everything, which isn't much.
But he wouldn't, because she's a woman, and he wouldn't occur to him to go in to do any sort of businessy thing with her.
Because he's a chauvinist alien.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Preferring it, yeah. So.
He'll be offended that she's even dressed, actually.
Yeah,
Well,
the thing is with a lot of these characters is that they have arcs, and they start as cowards, and then by the end of their arc, they're not really anymore. And Quark went through an arc, and he was much more courageous towards the end of the series than he was in season 1. So it just depends on where he is when they snatch him out. And
I tried to eliminate as many of the arc people as I could.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to Quark becoming more courageous.
Season one.
Yeah. Season 1. Okay, so before he met Grilka, before he became the head of the House of Quark on the.
Yeah.
I still think Quark wins because.
Yeah, I mean,
at some point his self-preservation kicks in, and he just like.
He just pushes her down.
In the midst of screaming, knocks her down, and she breaks a hip.
They run away.
He just pushes her down. Let me out of here, and he just pushes. Yes.
Yeah.
Quark.
And Aunt May would just take to her bed.
Yeah.
Where is Peter? That's the first 25 years of Spider-Man comics in a nutshell. Where is Peter?
I've always wondered about Aunt May. She is his aunt. They never said great aunt or anything like that, but how old were his parents if that was their sister?
Apparently, they were late in life babies.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Aunt May was 50, I guess.
I will say, my Aunt Pearl, was my great aunt, but I never called her great aunt. I just called her Aunt Pearl.
Yeah, there's that.
All right. So we're giving that to Quark, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry about my idiot dog. We're living in an apartment complex now, and so there's all kinds of noises he's not used to hearing.
Yeah.
And he's back there growling and burping and because somebody made a noise outside.
I didn't even hear it.
He's okay, good. He was growling at the thunder this afternoon. He's just
Stupid thunder.
You stop thunder. Go away, thunder.
Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, good call. Who picked that one?
That's Sean.
That would be
versus yet another Rick, Les Nessman.
Oh God.
Oh, is that WKRP?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
AKA the Turkey Slayer.
Yeah.
As God is my
God
witness.
is my witness.
Oh no, wait, that was Mr. Carlson who said
But
that.
they were.
That
Les
is
was
Oh,
like,
that's right. That's right. Les didn't know about it. It was.
he was
her.
watching it
said-
from the ground.
That's
Oh,
right.
the humanity.
Yeah, he was the one
They're
reporting
dropping
it.
like wet bags of cement.
Just bomb the Central City Mall.
I've never seen Les Nessman fight, so I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
This is a pretty even matchup, come to think of it, because they're both
Really.
dweeby, and they both probably think they can fight, but neither of them really can.
well,
There'd be a lot of
Exactly.
the little dog pedal.
gonna be
kind
the
of
slap
comment.
Seymour kind of saved the world.
Sure.
Not the real ending. He didn't.
You know,
Well, okay, but that's it. Wasn't
now
a
the real
question
ending is the one that came out in theaters. That's the real ending because that's the one they released.
Yes, as you said, most of these characters will have a moment of bravery, or they'll, screw their whatever to the sticking place. Sorry.
Nice Macbeth reference.
So Les Nessman, he would put tape down on the floor and just expect Seymour to not come across that because he's in his cubicle.
And I think Seymour wouldn't come across. I think that would work.
Seymour would respect it.
I think he would respect the line. I think
he would sing a song about it.
Yeah. I don't think it would come to physical blows, but I think you're right. I think in terms of who is the alpha, I think it would be Les, because Les will stand up for himself way more than Seymour does.
Yeah.
Seymour
if he
would
feels
probably be the only
big
human being
disrespect.
who would be afraid of Les Nessman.
And magically in the arena there would appear a chessboard, and they would have to play chess to decide their fate.
And Seymour would ask if they had any checkers.
Yeah. I don't know which way to go on that. I think it's kind of an even draw.
No, I think that's right. Because I was looking at some of these, I'm like, I've never seen any of them fight. Like there's some matches where I've literally never seen any of them. like C-3PO. No, it just doesn't happen. So I think it is incumbent upon us to think of alternate means of competition where one dominates the other.
I have one.
Okay.
And I'm not because he was on my list, because I didn't think beyond just names for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think Les would win only because he thinks he's a journalist, and he thinks he's a hard-bitten, war-weary journalist, and he really isn't, but he would at least try. And against anyone else, he'd get his ass kicked 3 times to Sunday. But because it's Seymour, he'd land maybe one slap across the nose, and Seymour would get away.
I like the way you think, sir. I think that because Les takes that one thing so seriously, he's going to dig into the story of this man who is aiding and abetting murderers, or one murderer, the plant. And he would bust him. He would bring that man to justice.
Right. I forgot about the murder thing. Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, I mean, Seymour. I mean, I know that the plant was eating people, but Seymour actually did kill people, didn't he?
No.
And feed him to the.
Tried. He was going to, and then he pulled out the gun, and he couldn't do it. And the dentist killed himself with his nitrous oxide.
Yes. Technically, Seymour didn't kill anyone, but he was, he led them in. He led them into the door.
Les would break that whole thing wide open.
And I also think this is again, starting the movie, Seymour is the most low self-esteem. There's literally no one in the movie who's not walking all over him. So I think if there was a physical confrontation, Seymour could win, but he wouldn't believe that he could win, so he wouldn't.
That's good. And Les 100% believes.
Yes.
Les is all in.
All right. I'll go with it.
And
All
kids
right.
out there, ask your folks about WKRP in Cincinnati. It's a great show.
It really is.
It might
It's
still
about
be
it's
on
about
Netflix.
this
It was
it's
on
about this thing called a radio station. Not a lot of people listen to those anymore.
and guys, and some of you ladies too, just Google Bailey Quarters. You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to pause the podcast now, just feel free. Just come back. All right. From team, let's do this. Okay. From Team Virginia, Reginald Barkley from Star Trek Next Generation.
It's almost on my list.
And from Team Sean, the Cowardly Lion from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, that's the most hilarious non-fight that ever didn't happen.
Well, the thing
Barkley
is,
his mind would not accept. Like he just, I don't know. He would be like in the fetal, like he would snap at seeing a anthropomorphic talking lion. Like he just wouldn't know how to handle it. I don't know what his next reaction would be.
Yeah, I think eventually he would figure out a scientific way to get rid of the lion, but he
just called him some sort of mutant. He can okay, he's an alien or something who looks like a lion. He's a mutant who seems to be covered in yarn. Fine.
Yeah.
But remember, the lion starts off fierce. That's his game. He comes out and he puts on a big threat display and expects his enemies to run away, which Barkley would.
Yeah,
that's true.
So if we don't get to the point where the lion and Barkley's not going to get him to that point, if we don't get to the point where the lion has to admit that he's not the king of the forest.
The thing is, though, that the cowardly lion is not as cowardly as he thinks he is, because there's several points in the movie where he's the one that jumps up and protects.
No, we're not doing something. We have to ignore arcs. At some point, all of these people are brave or brave enough.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not ignoring. I'm just saying he's not really a coward. He thinks he's a coward,
but he is a coward.
He is afraid, but everybody is afraid of things.
Yeah, he is a coward who will not be cowardly if he's defending someone else or if he's fighting for something he believes in. But this isn't that. This is him.
Exactly.
This is fight this guy.
Barkley's not fighting for anybody.
I think both of them would be on opposite sides of the arena, just cowered in a corner,
yelling at each other,
not doing anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we need to like this is like to the pain. These rules, like whoever backs down first. They don't necessarily have to be incapacitated. Just who's more likely to back down at some point.
I still say it's Barkley. Barkley's going to run away.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think the lion will put on a loud show of force, and Barkley will run away and he'll try to figure something out, but he will run away from the fate.
And then failing that, he will just go to the holodeck for a few months.
Where there's no lions at all.
No,
he'll make sure of that. No lions, please.
There's a 4-foot version of Commander Riker that he can sword fight.
I am the goddess of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a little behind the scenes here. I didn't know how many I was going to choose from each of you, and so everyone else is matched up amongst like your other players. So like none of you have like two of the same people in the same fight, except for me. Because I wasn't sure if I was going to add any, but I decided to add 4 as well. So 2 of mine: Steve Rogers before he takes the serum, before he becomes Super Steve.
That's a good call.
Scrawny 98-pound weakling Steve Rogers versus Daffy Duck.
Daffy Duck is
That is a classic weakling coward.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the double threat. He's the double non-threat.
But he thinks he's very brave. I mean, he's loud.
No, he knows he's a coward. He's proud of it.
He, in fact, if I may quote, Mr. Daffy Duck says, I may be a coward, but I'm a greedy little coward.
You know what? I think that's like the biggest thing going for him is he's kind of insane.
Kind of?
But well, yeah. Well, Daffy's not Daffy. He's just Daffy. But Steve Rogers would not back down from the fight at all. Like Steve
Rogers would kick Daffy's ass.
He would whoop his ass.
Well, he was a soldier already. I mean, he was a super soldier, but he was wasn't he was in the army, right?
Technically.
Briefly, yeah. I mean, he jumped on the grenade in the.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he got yes. Having no physical capacity to be in the army, he was allowed in the army.
That was the thing. He's still Captain America, even though he's the 98-pound weakling. So.
I give it.
The problem is, Daffy is indestructible. Steve will knock his beak off.
It'll spin around,
crumple him up,
spin around.
And Daffy will just keep coming back.
Well, okay, but he's indestructible, but he will be like he'll get the Tweety birds around his head, and he'll pass out.
Unless
picturing Steve Rogers with a giant hammer just squashing that.
Unless he has an eraser.
Yes,
just erase.
But Steve wouldn't do that though, even if he had.
No, that's dirty pool.
He wouldn't do that. That's cheating, and that might be too close to killing. It's like, do I kill him if I do this? He wouldn't risk it.
I still think Rogers wins.
In those they had the Looney Tunes cartoons where they would play around with drawing him and erasing him and stuff like that. Sure. And at the end they would erase everything but his beak, and his beak would just still be sitting there talking, but he can't do anything because it's just a mouth.
Right, but Steve wouldn't know that. He doesn't know cartoon rules.
No.
It was the 40s. They had cartoons in the 40s.
That's all they had.
Yes, they had cartoons, but they weren't in front of you.
Yes, true.
If a cartoon character was in front of you and you had some turpentine, I would be thinking if I threw the turpentine, I would kill this guy. I'm not going to do that unless I wanted him dead.
That's the dip. Yeah.
That's the dip. All right.
I still think Steve Rogers takes it.
I think so too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, this is interesting. Team Virginia, Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones, and from Team Sean, Bastion from The Neverending Story.
I have no idea about either of those characters. So
that is that deep pull.
Here's what I'm thinking. Theon Greyjoy is kind of a coward. I mean, he's an asshole, really, more than anything else.
He does know how to fight. I mean,
he does know how to fight. But, excuse me, Bastion has the power of wishes, does he not?
Well, exactly. at the end, he does.
That's what I'm asking. Does he?
But Bastion is a normal boy, but on the inside, he's Atreyu, and Atreyu is a warrior.
But he doesn't know that for most of the.
If he's got the wishes, then that's the end of the movie. Then he knows. Him and Atreyu are kind of the same guy.
Well, kind of.
Kind of. I mean, he's supposed to be. Atreyu is like the story version of Bastion. It's supposed to be his.
I'll be honest. I was always confused by that because I thought that was the case, and then he flies over him and he waves hi. And I'm like, so I thought you were the same. You're not the same guy because you're looking down at him, and then he flies into the real world. I
have a lot of questions about that movie. That's a whole different podcast.
This is like true confession time.
I can't believe we've been doing this podcast for like 4 years, and and Neverending Story has never come up before. And it's like,
how has that not happened?
Yeah,
it's come up. It just hasn't. We haven't done it. Should have put it in the Mind F episode.
Now so he does have the power of wishes. Does he? I mean, if he has the power of wishes, he can do whatever. Because I mean, he can bring in Falcor, and he can just, which that would scare
Step on
Theon
Theon.
enough. Theon would just
Here's
cower.
a dragon. Here's a dragon. You know, he's all.
It's a giant puppy dog. It's a giant pink puppy dog.
I don't want to give Theon Greyjoy a win ever. It's kind of so. So I want to go. I want to go with Bastion.
Oh, I thought there was a butt coming. That was it.
No. I'm just.
All right.
Come on, Theon. Ugh.
All right, Bastion.
Yeah, I give it to Sebastian. What do you say?
All right.
Rick's like, I don't know.
I mean, there's an upside to Bastion's life. Theon's got nothing.
The only thing I know about Theon Greyjoy is he got his wee willy winky lopped off.
Yeah.
Also true.
Yeah.
That was in Neverending Story Part 2.
The never beginning story.
Could I have one of those wishes, please? I believe
That was the one. Yeah. Jonathan Brandis. Jonathan Brandis played Bastion in Neverending Story Part 2. Fun fact.
Oh, from Sequest. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. You know. All right.
Don't get me started on Sequest.
That movie was horrible.
Here's the funny thing. I thought that John was saying that because he knew Rick was going to say something when the word Sequest came up, and on my screen, Rick is right above John, and John kind of looked up when.
It's great fun.
Oh God.
All right. From Team Joe.
Uh-oh.
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo versus from Team Rick, Gaius Baltar from Battlestar Galactica.
The new Battlestar Galactica.
The new Battlestar Galactica. You guys have seen Gaius, right?
Yeah.
I've seen like 3 episodes of Battlestar. So,
dude,
I think you would really like it.
dude, you
Seriously,
gotta watch it.
Sean,
I did like it. I just, I had other things that had editing to do and and all that. And I just
you've got like 3 good years of misery ahead of you. And I mean, the characters are miserable, and the things that happen to them are miserable.
Yeah, and there's a season there where it kind of takes a lull in terms of like the plot and the momentum, but it ends strong. But that's not why we're here today.
Yes. I think that now Baltar was hoodwinked by number 6 because she's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
How does that translate into food? Because Shaggy is a master of disguise. Could he disguise himself so attractively that he manages to hornswoggle Baltar into defeat?
I'm going to say no, only because he would have to shave. He'd have to get rid of his little 60s soul patch, and he would never. He will never part with the stubble.
It would grow back by the next episode. So.
The thing about Baltar in the new Battlestar Galactica that I was impressed with was, the original Baltar, who was John Colicos, who, just watching him chew scenery is always a joy. But the original Baltar was just evil. He just totally sold out humanity because he was evil. Gaius in the new Battlestar Galactica, he wasn't evil. He was just supremely selfish.
Yes.
And I'm not sure how that would go up against Shaggy, because Shaggy, well, yes, he's, total stoner dude, but he was not selfish in the least.
No, and while he is, of course, famously a coward, he does keep going into haunted houses to fight monsters.
Yeah, it's not like
He
just lets everybody know, look, I'm terrified, but then he does it anyway.
Yeah. So I think it's got to go to Shaggy, even though Baltar's on my team. I got to say, Shaggy, I think if pushed into a corner, will fight back, and Baltar will run the hell away.
Shaggy's still going to come up with some contraption.
No,
Well,
that's Fred who does all of
That
that.
is Fred. Up. I stand
Yeah.
corrected. Yes. Shaggy is going to be. He'll hide inside a suit of armor.
Yes.
Or
And he
behind
does.
a painting.
He does
And
have
Scooby
a
will be in
little.
there with him.
He does have a little bit of the cartoon reality bending. So he'll open this door and he'll go through and he'll come out this other door.
Yeah.
And
The one
guys,
thing I've never really understood is as many haunted houses as Shaggy and Scooby have gone into, there was never any ghosts in any of them. So why are you still scared to go in?
After like 87 haunted houses, maybe they thought the next one's going to be
you
the
never
one.
know.
All right, I can explain that actually. Okay, I am like this close to being an atheist. Okay, I'm agnostic to the point of I it would take extraordinary proof for me to believe in anything beyond this world. But when I'm working in my theater at 11:30 at night and I'm the only one there and I'm working on the lights and I've got to climb up into the catwalks to fix something
Yeah.
and the theater's making creepy noises and 4 o'clock in the afternoon me knows there's no ghosts in that place, but 11:30 at night me is climbing up the ladder going, this is going to be the worst time to find out I'm wrong about that.
Never know.
That is true.
All right, so we're giving that to Shaggy.
But that was did you guys ever watch the they did a Scooby Doo crossover with Supernatural where
Yeah, I saw it.
the guys
And
from
I haven't seen
Supernatural.
it yet. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I have not seen it.
It was
yet.
good.
Oh, it was it's been like a year. But
I know. I'm an idiot.
they get they get pulled in and everything, and that's one of the big things is they find out the kids from Scooby Doo find out that ghosts and things are real, and it freaks them out. You mean they're real? Oh my god! And they're just running around screaming.
Is Velma in it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Might have to watch it.
it's a good episode. I had not seen Supernatural for several years before that, but I watched that one and I enjoyed it.
I used to, my wife back in where we lived before the last house we lived in. Our computers were in the living room, and so my wife would watch a lot of shows that I didn't really care about, but I would watch them over her shoulder. Supernatural and Heroes, but Supernatural was like one of the big ones, and so I know more about the show than I should because I don't watch it, but I kind of by osmosis picked up a lot of it, and it was a good show. It just wasn't good enough for me to pursue it all of the time.
14 seasons worth of material.
Yeah, especially because it was supposed to end in season 5, and then it was doing so well they kept it going.
Yeah,
Dean went to hell or something, and
this season is the last season.
Yeah, this is actually the last season. All right, from Team Joe, Roscoe P. Coltrane from Dukes of Hazzard. And from Team Virginia, Cyril Figgis from Archer.
Oh God.
I don't know Archer very well.
That's a good fight.
That would be hilarious.
That's a good match.
Because they both think they know kung fu and shit.
Yeah,
exactly.
That would be funnier than the Seymour Les Neston fight.
I'm gonna go Roscoe just because I don't know anything about. I don't really watch Archer, so
that's another one you really need to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen it. I haven't watched more than the first season. I don't remember most of the character names other than Archer.
The whole podcast.
It kind of gets better.
John should watch.
If the first season didn't catch you, then yeah, it's not your show.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Dukes of Hazzard in I don't know how many decades, so I'm tangentially know both of these characters. I'm familiar-ish with them, but I'll defer to.
Same here. Roscoe's an idiot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then so is
Cyril. He's the
Well,
sheriff, but he
Cyril's
does
not an
everything
idiot.
Boss Hogg
Cyril's
doesn't do.
smart.
Cyril at least can use guns and
Yeah, Cyril.
suppressing fire.
Cyril hates himself and everyone.
Yeah.
But he also is like
Fairly competent.
He's competent in spite of everyone else and himself.
Yeah.
He is competent.
Yeah.
But
Arguably,
Roscoe not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cyril would win.
Yeah.
And Roscoe would be utterly baffled by the fact that he didn't win.
Oh yeah, yeah. No idea. No idea.
All right. From team. All right. Yeah. From team me and team me. Gonzo from the Muppets versus Arthur from The Tick.
Oh.
Oh
wow.
I mean, both of
And I'm
them.
I'm thinking original cartoon Arthur Tick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Both of them are characters that, while not very heroic, really try to be heroic.
Yes.
I would say
they
Arthur
believe in themselves.
succeeds. Yeah.
Now, does Gonzo have his chicken with him? What's her name?
Camilla. But I'm
Camilla.
not sure
Camilla's a chicken.
Like as a backup.
I want to say Arthur only because Gonzo's a puppet.
Arthur's a cartoon character.
Well, see, I'm imagining now.
In the Muppet movie, Gonzo's not a puppet.
Well, true.
Sure.
But on prime Gonzo time, which would be the Muppet Show, he's a Muppet. He's a puppet. So.
I think. Well, we are presuming that he will have his lower extremities. This is not. There's not somebody running around underneath. There's he's full-fledged Gonzo.
I still think
Full Gonzo.
Gonzo's a lover, not a fighter.
Agreed. Yes.
Whereas Arthur is just barely competent.
Barely a fighter. Here's what I think. Here's what I think would happen. I think Arthur would use his one move, which is flying.
Yeah.
And Gonzo would reach up. He would pick up Gonzo and just kind of flutter up high and then drop him.
And then feel really bad about it.
Or even really hurt him. But in the next scene, he would be in an arm and a leg cast. So, yeah, let's give that one to Arthur. All right, and last spot. Team Sean, George McFly, 50s nerd, versus Team Joe, Xander Harris.
Oh, from Buffy?
Yeah. Okay. Prime George McFly.
Xander is like the reincarnation of George McFly.
Yeah,
it really is.
But the thing is, I don't see how you can use either one of them without using their arcs.
Because George's arc ends up pretty good, but mostly George is he's ineffectual at best.
Yes, George before he throws the punch, and Xander in season 1, season 1, possibly season 2. He's not. I mean, he's not.
Xander's arc is bad. Xander just. Xander's arc treats him terribly, and
Xander's the damsel in distress of Buffy.
He really is.
But
he
also
Giles
is another one who thinks he's more badass than he is.
Yeah.
Whereas George doesn't.
See, I would disagree. I don't think Xander thinks he's badass. I think that he draws his strength from Buffy. He like literally, and he says like, "What would Buffy do?" And then he fakes it. He fakes his confidence to do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah, is enough to beat George McFly.
Yeah, really, anything is enough.
Yeah,
to beat,
fair.
I don't want to give Xander any kind of win because I dislike him strenuously.
I love me some Xander.
See, I don't know.
Because if Xander just goes in there acting like a tough guy, then George is gonna cower down just like he did with Biff.
Yeah.
Xander will give him a speech like, "Look, I don't want to fight you. I really don't, but I will." And George won't.
That is true because Xander will fight. He just and it's not really so much part of his arc that he successfully fights to some extent. That's just early Xander. He just gets in there and just does whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess yeah, that's not really an arc situation. That's just, well, we all have to fight vampires, so Xander has to come along too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess Xander has to win this one.
Yeah, and if he's not trying to do anything to Lorraine, then George isn't gonna.
And even then, he walked away. Anyway.
Well, until he knocked him out in the.
Yeah, but he walked. Okay. You know what? I should just make a list of other shows we need to have based on this. All right. Round 2. Yeah. Sorry.
I almost said it.
Second tier. Dr. Smith from Lost in Space versus Quark.
Ooh.
This would be the shadiest, most slimy, underhanded used car salesman fight ever.
Quark, the Quark's weakness is that he is shady and slimy, but he has some good in him. So, and Dr. Smith doesn't.
But
here's what I think
Quark can fight.
Yeah.
Dr. Smith is useless once you get past his verbal skills, and Quark isn't going to be intimidated.
Quark
like
because
Dr. Smith is going to have,
and Dr. Smith would just lie. And
Dr. Smith's going to have some good material about Quark's appearance. He's going to be able to improv the heck out of some of that stuff. But Quark knows what he looks like, and he thinks he's a handsome devil, so it's not going to affect him.
Yeah. Like, whereas Dr. Smith could talk 3PO into exploding, he's not going to talk Quark down.
Yeah. So I get all right. Yeah.
Can't call it a con, man.
Yeah.
We giving this to Quark.
Yeah.
Quark without Smith.
Quark.
Quark.
All right. Cowardly Lion versus Les Nessman.
Les is not going to be intimidated by the threat by the threat display.
Yeah, I don't think Cowardly Lion would. Like you said before, if he doesn't have somebody to protect, then he's not going to come out of his shell.
God, Les Nessman's going to end up winning this whole thing.
Well, look back on some of our winners. I mean,
hey, Tribbles beat Ewoks, didn't they?
Yes, I believe they did.
We did an Easter episode, and the devil won the entire thing.
Yeah,
Lucifer from Lucifer.
I don't believe I was a part of that, but actually, I think I was.
I think you were.
I wasn't, but I like the sound of that.
It was terrific.
I think that the Cowardly Lion might sing a song to him about how brave he is.
I think they would they would be friends because they would commiserate about being misunderstood and unappreciated.
Les Nessman would want to do a series of stories about this talking lion.
And the lion would just be happy that someone wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
But even
breaking news, apparently she could have gone home at any time.
Yeah.
All right. So let's give that to Les Nessman. Because even if he interviews the lion, I would still say that he is the dominant force in that situation.
Yeah. He won.
All right. Now we're talking Steve Rogers, pre-formula, versus Arthur from The Tick.
Man.
Steve kicks Arthur's ass.
Yeah.
Why?
Arthur has gadgets, right?
He's got gadgets, but even beyond that, I would say he fights as well as Steve Rogers does, and he wouldn't back down if he thinks that Steve's a bad guy or if he has to fight him.
But Arthur,
in an
Arthur
actual physical fight, I think Arthur would beat Steve Rogers.
Steve knows tactics because that's not something the serum gave him.
Okay. So, all right. So we're talking enrolled in Army Steve or fighting in the alley Steve?
No, enrolled in the
Still,
army.
this
Steve.
is
Okay.
New York kid who grew up hard, grew up in the ghetto. Is
Yeah,
there?
he's
Yes,
he's a skinny little guy, but he's scrappy.
crappy.
Whereas Arthur's an accountant in a bunny suit, or in a moth
Also,
suit.
well, not scrappy, but also from New York.
Actually, yeah, you got to take out the New York thing because they're both from New York.
I still think Steve wins over Arthur.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because even if he tried like the pick him up and drop him thing, Steve would like
Just clamp
tickle
on
him
and say we're
yeah,
both
he's-
going down.
Yeah, he'd
Yeah.
punch him in the head. Right. Give it to Steve Rogers. Shocking, Steve Rogers wins a fight.
Steve would say, "I can do this all day," and Arthur says, "I cannot."
I would like to be done by noon. So
Get my sister's car back to her.
I could just to be clear, I cannot do this all day.
I need to watch that last season. By the way, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh man.
All right,
I gave up after 6 episodes. It just wasn't working for me.
I enjoyed it. Xander Harris,
Naked Man. That was good.
always a good time. Xander Harris versus Bastion from Neverending Story. Now, if this is just the two of them in a fight, I think I'm going to give it to Xander. I will punch a baby.
Beating up on a child.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Which Xander would do.
Yes.
but Bastion won the last
You would feel bad
round by using a wish, so he still has infinite wishes. Why can't he just wish for Atreyu to come fight for him or something like that?
Who do I have him against the first fight?
I don't remember, but he won.
Theon
The guy from Game of
Well,
Thrones.
you know, I
yeah.
gave him a wish because Theon's Greyjoy is like is an actual warrior. I feel like we had to handicap him. I don't know.
Can I just say, if you give any of these characters supernatural powers, they win over everybody.
True.
Now, okay. Now, granted, I have not ever sat through the entirety of the Neverending Story. Not for not trying, but it's just a painfully boring movie. If you're not 6, which I was not when it came out. So,
Sure. May I suggest?
Does Bastion have the power of wishes, or does Atreyu?
No, Bastion is given.
Bastion.
He's,
Well,
at the
he's
end of
given
the movie, he's given a grain of sand, which is the last remaining piece of Eternia. Is it Eternia or whatever the name of their?
He-Man?
Yeah, Fantasia. Yeah. So he's given. Yeah. Well, Fantasia is Mickey Mouse anyway.
He is,
but,
in fact, the master of the universe.
So
I
he's
just remember
got
a big rock-eating Muppet thing.
now he's got a grain of sand, which is the last piece of that world, and it gives him the power of infinite wishes, and he uses the wishes to bring Fantasia and all the people that live in it back to life.
But does he use the wish? Can he use? Are they any kind of wishes, or are they
Yeah,
like
it's just
specific?
infinite wishes. He can wish for anything.
So he doesn't wish himself a Cadillac and
No, he does wish to ride on a dragon, but the dragon it's a previous character. We're all familiar with the dragon.
Yeah.
I feel like Bastion, and you guys tell me what you think. I don't feel like he should get a wish in this fight because
Who's gonna stop?
you know
Wish him-
what, this what it is. if he either he I feel like he should get a wish in the first fight, but not in this fight. If you want to be consistent, either Theon Greyjoy just kills this boy, which we know he will do.
He
since
would do.
did it in the show. And Theon needs to be versus Xander, which would also be hilarious. Or Bastion just keeps. I think I want Wish first fight, no Wish this fight. That's my vote. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I don't know how you get the thing away from him because he can just wish for you to go away.
Well, he was handicapped. He was handicapped by the whatever entity, the Prime game arena master.
And I think
So-
I already know my winner if it's Xander versus Theon. So
Yeah.
Well, check me on this, but we've run into this problem on just about every game of this, where some character has something that's so powerful that they could win every single fight if we don't take it away from them.
yeah.
True.
Yeah, and we usually tell everyone that they come in without anything. You know, they're
Yeah. And if his
But-
wish powers come from an external thing, because we've always said,
They did.
it's like
And-
Thunderdome, they just have what weapons are in there.
And actually, you know what else? We also said we're not considering arcs, and that's literally the last part of his arc, is he gets that wish power.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Theon.
If you take that out, then Theon won that original fight. So it's
Right.
Theon
So
versus
let's go
Xander.
back
Fuck
to
it.
okay. So I
So
think I can
Theon
finish.
versus Xander. Yeah.
Okay, Theon versus Xander.
Slaying in a
Theon,
blade somewhere.
Theon was literally castrated, while Xander is just emotionally castrated.
You know,
Let me ask a question, because I didn't watch Game of Thrones past season 2, so I don't know much about Theon. Does he even qualify for this group? Is he a
See-
coward or a weakling?
not really, but so that's what I'm looking. I'm looking now. What you said exactly was Theon Greyjoy / Reek, and I would say those are almost two different characters. Reek is just the traumatized shell of a human.
Yeah. Now
After-
see. Yeah.
So Theon is a tool, but he's a fighter.
Because that's how pretty much any character from Game of Thrones is more badass than anyone on this list.
Pets, children, yes.
So I think we need to throw Theon out of the running.
Which means
Because-
Bastion was there by himself, so he wins by default. So it is Bastion versus Xander.
Yeah.
we can do that, or
He wouldn't go back and he wants to rewrite history.
I don't actually, but we could. I have an alternate. Do you guys even want to pursue that route, or do you want to just throw it to Bastion? I'm
What's
fine
your
with
alternate?
that. Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Well, he's just as cutthroat as anybody else.
Yes,
but he's
utterly
not competent. Right. Hey. All right. So if we're
Well, if you're putting him against Bastion, then it's just good versus evil. I mean,
But I think saying Nedry is evil is giving him way more credit than he's due.
I think it's just greedy. I think it's. I would say selfless versus greedy. If you want to pair. it.
Yeah.
But Nedry is Nedry, and then this is just a child whom Nedry would try to take advantage of and probably succeed. So
Yes.
I'm going with Nedry.
hey, Joe, are you recording with your phone?
Yes.
Can you pull your phone down just a little, because I've got the image that's actually being recorded and it's just showing me the top of your head.
Oh,
I mean,
there's my head.
I can see your whole face on my screen, but I've got the screen up that shows me what's actually on the recording, and it's just the top of your head.
Yeah.
It did the same thing in the episode we did with Jessica, because she was using a phone and it's and it's long ways like that. See, you did it again. You need to come down a little bit. There you go. And through the whole video, it was just Jessica's mouth was in most of the shots in the video. What? Oh, Sherry says you have a nice head, so it's okay.
Hey, thanks. That's
Said
great.
thanks. All right.
All right.
I will edit that out of the podcast, but I will leave it in the video.
Leave it all in. That's what I say. Leave it all in.
All right. So
Where are we at?
based on our alternate timeline, Dennis Nedry versus Xander.
Xander.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Xander. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, Nedry
never
would
saw
hurt his feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would.
Nedry would make Xander feel bad.
we never saw that Nedry could fight at all, so, and we've at least seen Xander fight a few times.
Yeah, hit him with a skateboard or something.
Yeah.
Actually, what he would do would be like, "Hey, look, a dinosaur!" And then he would turn around and be terrified, and then he would hit him in the back of the head with a skateboard.
I like it.
All right. Shaggy from Scooby-Doo versus Cyril from Archer.
Cyril, because he has no scruples.
And yes, agreed.
I'll go with that because I don't know the characters.
He would totally kill a stone dude who was totally inoffensive
without considering. Yeah, 100%.
He would almost feel bad about it for a second. He was like, "Hey, I had no choice. Sorry."
Yeah, I'm good.
And absolve.
He would only feel bad about it if Lana gave him shit about it.
Which she would.
Briefly.
You killed Shaggy. What the hell is wrong with you?
What are you doing?
It was him or me. Lana. All right. So now we're uneven in the pairings. Let's do Quark versus Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers.
Steve, yeah.
Yeah.
The dog agrees.
Actually, that's dog versus cat that's happening right now. That's what it is.
Cat dog.
Right. Yeah, because Quark
the cat is just harassing him, right? Just harassing the dog. because he knows that the dog will get in trouble if he attacks the cat. So the cat's just messing with her.
I'm so glad your dog gives a shit. My dog just has not figured out that our 14-year-old cat does not want to play. And she hates his very existence and begrudges him every breath he takes.
All right.
I think, Quark's main attack, if you will, is intimidation. And or outsmarting, and neither of those is going to work on Steve Rogers, no matter how scrawny he is.
Yeah, and he's also incorruptible, so we couldn't even bribe him to
exactly.
Throw the fight.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I think Quark has met his match in Steve Rogers.
Quark would be so annoyed by Steve Rogers. He's so honest and honorable.
Yeah,
it would drive Quark crazy.
That would be Quark's worst nightmare, is just locked in a room with Steve Rogers.
Oh my God, shut up.
Right. Yeah, I think Steve Rogers, I would go with that.
Okay, that's done.
What? No, you're not Captain America. We're talking about Steve Rogers before he was hot and sexy. So my wife is over there nodding. Yeah, Steve Rogers.
America's ass.
Yeah, America's ass. Big thumbs up.
Let's do. Oh yeah, okay. Arthur's already out of it. So let's do. Ooh, okay, Xander Harris versus Les Nessman.
Ooh.
It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
This is really happening.
I wouldn't.
That's tough. I want to give it to.
I would give it to Xander.
Because Xander will fight. I don't
Les
think
Nessman's like in his 40s.
Fight back, yeah.
If they got physical at all, Xander would take him.
But
they would both trip and fall and knock themselves out.
That's the thing. It's which one of them gets lucky is the question. I wish I had a 20-sided die to roll right now, because that's about as how it would be.
I would give it to Xander. I think they will both knock themselves unconscious, and Xander will wake up first.
Well, I think for a while Xander is just going to be dumbfounded, just listening to him talk and telling him not to cross this line of tape on the floor and things like that. But
And Les is going to try to report on the whole vampire situation in Sunnydale.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to believe it. Did you get into Johnny Fever stuff, Les? Seriously.
Yeah. Put it on your feet.
I'm sorry, my dog was just asking to go out. He just went out like 5 minutes before we started, so he cannot possibly have to go.
If your dog actually asked to go out, then you need to record that because that's worth some money.
In his way.
Can I go out?
By
Can I
in
go
his
out?
way, you mean in English, where only you can hear it.
Yeah.
That's a bad precedent for that.
My dog pees more than 5 pregnant women who are on a juice diet.
That's just science. That's science.
All right. Xander to this?
Yeah.
I
Xander
think.
versus
I
Nesman.
think. All right.
Nah.
I think
I
Nesman,
think
why?
Les takes it, but huh?
Why?
Because Xander is a total f up,
Yeah.
and I think Les at least is semi-competent.
But it's semi-competent. Oh man.
Folks, if you're not watching the video of this, you need to go to YouTube and watch it, because what just happened on John's face was priceless.
That's funny.
I just want to say both animals are fine.
No animals
No
were
animals
harmed.
are harmed in the making of Cosmic Potato.
But the staircase is in ruin.
The flowers are still standing.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah, I think Nesman is competent at his job, but if it's a fight between the two of them, Xander wins.
Yeah, Xander wins.
Even if, yeah.
All right, I won't fight y'all. I don't disagree. I just
Hey,
He's already
Xander.
got Band-Aid on his forehead. They should put a band-aid on the other side. There you go.
This episode of this podcast contains the most times I've said anything complimentary about Xander.
Whatever.
I know it.
Part of my problem is the actor that plays Xander is an asshole too. So
Hard to
He's
separate sometimes.
He played a Law and Order SVU, maybe more than once. I don't know.
Maybe more than once.
Yes, he was a recurring character.
Starring Xander as himself.
All right, and so let's do. So Rogers, Xander left standing.
okay, that would be worth it just because to watch Steve Rogers kick Xander's ass.
Whoa. We've still got Cyril. I'm trying to decide who to match him up with. All right, well let's do Cyril versus Xander at this point.
Ooh. Got some dead air going on.
Yeah. I got nothing.
Oh, they're both equally skeevy. Oh wow.
Cyril is like the guy you get to before the big bad on each season of Buffy.
Yeah.
Cyril is amoral. And Cyril is kind of like, yeah, like you're right, like the lieutenant, like the second, the almost big boss.
Yeah. I think Cyril takes it just because he's a jerk, and he thinks he's better than he is, but he's also
he's actually
a
better
spy.
Yeah, he is an actual competent
Yeah.
at his job. Yeah.
All right. Final match. This is good. I feel like they earned it. Steve Rogers, Weakling Steve Rogers versus Coward Cyril.
I said Steve Rogers because he's a weakling, but he's not a coward. and that gives
Smarter.
him.
Yeah, he's smarter,
He's smarter
Yeah.
than Cyril.
and he has had some training. Yeah,
Yeah, I got to give it to Steve. I don't think he's going to come out of it without blood.
he will be in traction
No,
Yeah.
at
yeah.
the end of this gauntlet.
I guess they both will.
Yeah.
No.
And as a reward, we give him super serum,
Yes.
and he can become Captain America.
Turns out everything special about Steve Rogers didn't come from a bottle.
And then Cyril goes, "What? I didn't know if you won, you got super serum."
You guys
I would have
suck.
tried harder.
Mhm.
Okay, so Steve Rogers wins wins Sci-Fighters for this episode.
Even without powers, he's
Yeah,
still.
America's ass won again.
Who brought in Steve? Was that Virginia?
That was me.
That was you. Okay.
It was a good pull. It was a good pull.
Yeah.
Well,